YouTube, it's your boy FPLK man, and I'm back here with a brand new video. And today I've got for you my Game Week 37 team review, as well as my Game Week 38 team selections. As you guys know, this will be the final team selection video because this is the last game week of 2024-25 Fantasy Premier League season. So we've got a lot to unpack here. In this video, I'll be covering the captaincy for Game Week 38, as well as the best buys and the press conference summary in regards to the update on key assets like Isak, as well as Trippier, on what their fitness level is. So without further ado, let's dive in. So there you have it. Your boy had total 50 points for Game Week 37. My old rank was 1.2k. My new rank is 1.7k. Big fat red arrow, unfortunately. There's not really much I could do, to be honest. There's been a lot of disappointments all over the team. Start off with Bukayo Saka, biggest disappointment. I kept him throughout the whole time when people, sold him for KDB, Palmer. But he has disappointed versus Newcastle, and he only came in with 3 points. And a second biggest disappointment would be Cunha, who again also got benched and came off the bench for 20 minutes and didn't do anything. And one of the main reason being is the fact that obviously because there's a lot of rumors around him that he's coming to United, and there's a lot of agreements being done between Wolves as well as Cunha and Manchester United. So I guess the manager and him had a fallout, as well as the fan base, to be honest, as well. So two big disappointments, along with Nori was completely absolute shithousery. They considered 3 goals, he's got nothing. So those 3 guys alone kind of costed me, accompanied with the fact that I had a lot of threats that returned against me, which is Wissa, who's got a goal as well as an assist. And let's be honest about that goal, by the way, guys. I mean, it was over the line. It should have been Nogood's goal, but they ended up awarded to Wissa. I'm a bit salty about it, but it is what it is. So like a lot of my threats, like even Konsa, Kukurea, all these guys, like bagging brace. I mean, Konsa of all people, these Villa boys, man, they've been killing me recently. Look, is what it is. A tough week. There are some shining lights. So obviously, shout out to my boy Raya. Look, I was rooting for him to get like 9 points. He had 5 saves in the first 20 minutes versus Newcastle, and then I was rooting for him to get one more save, and unfortunately, he did not. Instead, funny enough, he got a yellow card towards the last, I think, around 5 minutes in extra time, and he dropped 2 bonus points to 1 bonus point. And because of a yellow card, he dropped another minus 1 point. So instead of a 9 points, I'm on 7 points from Raya. But again, considering his form recently, I'm quite pleased with him. And then you got Nico Williams, of course, who's got 4 points. Funny enough, he's actually considered a goal, and he still ended up getting 2 bonus points. I don't know how that happened, but we'll take that. I won't complain about it. Guardiola considered last minute. It's just you can't write this up, honestly. In midfield, I had Bowen. At least Bowen is the one that actually wiped the clean sheet for Forest. If it was anyone else, I'd have been even more pissed. And I think that's been one of my best transfers in. I think he's got scored a goal in the last 5 weeks in a row now. Look, he's an 8-9 point merchant, but he ticks along. And the fact that he's not exactly 90% owned or 80% owned, the likes of freaking Mbumo and whatnot, it does help a bit in terms of rank gain. And then you got Mbumo, who was 171% EO. He was captained by a lot of managers, surprisingly, and he did end up missing a pen. And he also scored a goal. Like he was on for like 16 pointer, but thankfully he missed the pen, and that obviously did access some points from him, which did help me end up matching my captaincy, which is Watkins, 5 points. Look, ultimately we take that. I'm glad Mbumo missed that pen. If he didn't, it would have been a shocking game week to say the least. And then Marmoush, of course, he scored the goal of the season. Like I kept faith in him, and he rewarded me. Absolute banger, beautiful goal from him. Not much to say. Look, he could have had another assist if he was of KDB missing from freaking 2 yard out, empty goal. Like he just skied it. So it is what it is. Watkins with only 1 assist. He could have probably blanked. He had tons of chances, but you know how Watkins is. He gets a lot of chances, but he doesn't convert them. Look, ultimately a disappointed week, to say the least. Big fat red arrow. I mean, what could I have done? Not really much. Like obviously hindsight 2020, maybe captain a different player like Marmoush or whatever, but he was never in my consideration. So yeah, and most captains obviously didn't get more than 5 points anyways. So now let's move on to the Game Week 38 press conference summary. So as you guys can see from the statements from Eddie Howe in regards to Trippier and obviously Alexander Isak, they both did not train up until today, and they're probably likely to train tomorrow. But again, he's not sure. He said obviously there will be maybe day to day, and he was going to assess them tomorrow. Now, if they haven't trained till now, and if they train tomorrow, is 1 day turnaround enough for them to play on Sunday? I don't know. Personally, I think it's 50-50 whether they play or not. But ideally, you want to save your transfers, and you want to make the decision on the deadline day on Sunday. So please hold your transfers for the likes of Isak or Trippier, if whoever you own, or even Bradley/Trent, just to see, what the leaks are, because ultimately the games are at 4 p.m. and the deadline's at 2:30. There's a high likelihood that we get some leaks for all these teams. So Newcastle is second Trippier. They both haven't trained and they're doubts. Arsenal, both Timber and Saliba out for the season. However, Havertz is back in the squad and potentially he may start versus Southampton and that could be a good pick. But again, you never know with Arteta and Eddie Howe, these type of managers, they be lying through the teeth all season. And then you got Liverpool, obviously Onslaught, as I said, he's not sure whether he's going to start Trent or Bradley. The key thing about Trent, as I said, like he obviously, I think it will be a probably on the day decision because at the end of the day, like how do they want to send him off to Madrid? Like a lot of the fans are not happy with him. And on the trophy celebration, there does Slot really want to create a toxic environment by starting Trent? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not so sure. So let me know what you guys think. Now let's move to my Game Week 38 transfer plans. I have one free transfer for Game Week 38. I'm looking to take out Cunha to bring in Evan Olsen. As I said, Cunha, there's a lot of transfer rumors around surrounding his name. Obviously, there is agreement already been reached verbally between Manchester United and Wolves. So he's most likely gone this summer. So I don't see him starting versus Brentford at home. He's already got benched once and they lost, but maybe he starts again. But again, I don't want to take that risk going to the last game week. So I'm looking to bring in a really good asset in Evan Olsen, who does have a Leicester at home. And his numbers do look good, although recently he's blanked 2 games in a row. But those are tough fixtures in Villa and Man City. Have only played like the likes of Arsenal as well as West Ham. He did play really well. And I do think Evan Olsen is one of the best transfer in this week. And I think he could do really well versus Leicester, which is one of the best fixtures, let's be honest. They've been conceding goals for fun all season. And in my team currently, I do not own any Bournemouth assets. And it doesn't feel right to go into the last game week of the season to not have anyone against Leicester. So now let's move on to my Game Week 38 team selection. So for Game Week 38, as you guys can see, I'm currently lining up with Raya, Guardiola, Konate, and 8 Nori at the back. Let's be honest, the fixtures are not too great for the likes of Guardiola, Konate, and 8 Nori. And I do have Trippier on the bench, but as I said, he's a doubt. So hopefully if I get any leaks that he's starting, I'll most likely start him ahead of either Konate or 8 Nori. It'll most likely be 8 Nori, but yeah, we'll see come the deadline. On Raya, he has Southampton away. I think he's tied with Sales for 13 clean sheets each, and he's going for the Golden Glove. So he does have a lot of motivation to keep a clean sheet. And I do think there's a good chance that he starts with Southampton. And look, let's be honest, Arsenal probably will have one of the most highest odds for clean sheets this week anyways. So I'm happy to start him. Guardiola, on the other hand, look, Fulham has been conceding a lot of goals. However, they've also been scoring goals. So do I see a clean sheet there? Perhaps not. But again, he has attacking threat because he's playing that left wing back role. Konate, Palace at home. They've lost the last 4 games. They've been conceding goals for fun. They're on the beach. It's not ideal for me to start him if I'm being honest. But again, the options are limited considering the fact that, I mean, you got Nico Williams playing Chelsea, which is a tough fixture, and you got Trippier, who's also a doubt. So I don't really have much choices there. And then last but not least, you got 8 Nori Brentford at home. He's been really disappointing, especially versus Palace. They considered 3 goals. Do I see something there? Maybe. But again, he's got attacking threat. Hopefully, even if he doesn't keep a clean sheet, maybe he comes up with an assist. In midfield, he got Salah, Bowen, and Bimo Saka. All the midfielders have a great fixtures. And if I'm being honest, any one of them could be a good captaincy option. Absolutely open to the field right now. But in my opinion, if I was to be honest right now, like it's probably Salah 1 and Saka 2. I think Saka would be 1 for me if he starts. There's some, I guess, doubts around his minutes because he did get subbed on the 75th minutes versus Newcastle. So could he get 90? Perhaps not. Whereas Salah is going for the goals as well as the assist record and try to beat Alan Shearer's record. So maybe Salah is the better choice considering the fact that obviously there's also news that Gehi is also not going to be available. So maybe that Salah is the best captain considering the fact that he needs to, go for those goals as well as the assist record. And he said it himself in the interview that, look, I'm trying to get that record. So currently, obviously, it's on Saka due to the fact that Southampton, they've been poor and like the right wing spot, we've said it all season, target Southampton on the right wing spot. And who else is better to target than Saka? But Salah was also a really good shot this week. So the captaincy we'll discuss in the next slide. It's really close this week and it's really open. And it could be any one of these guys, as I said. So yeah, like the midfield is really strong. I don't have any complaints at all. Bowen with Ipswich, great fixture. Mbemo with Wolves, who just considered 3 goals to Palace. And then obviously Saka with Southampton and Salah with Palace. Great fixtures all around, no complaints. Captaincy will be a deadline decision. Make sure to tune in to see who I captain. In the forward position, new addition to my team, Evan Olsen, Leicester at home. Great fixture. Again, I'm going to mention it. Spicy pick. If you're looking for differential captaincy and you're chasing, Evan Olsen is not the worst shout. Although guys like Evan Olsen and Bowen, they don't have penalties, they can still do really well because they got really good fixtures on paper. Watkins versus a depleted United team. We just lost the Europa to Spurs. How much motivation are we really going to have? We're really actually, we have nothing to play for. Let's just be honest. So maybe it's just to save face. But again, Watkins versus United, when they need to, secure top 5, I think he could do really well. So I'm happy to own him as well. And last but not least, you got Marmoush with Fulham away. He just got an absolute wardy. Like, come on, he has to surely start versus Fulham. and I think he could do well versus Fulham. Like especially with Haaland, when Haaland plays, he does play well off Haaland. So yeah, I think he has a really good high ceiling. Overall, the team looks quite decent. I'm not really pleased with my backline, but you can't have a perfect team every week. On the bench, you got Verbruggen, Trippier, Nico Williams, as well as Murphy. If there's any doubts around any other of my players, maybe I bring in Murphy or I bring in Nico Williams, but ideally I want them to be on the bench and I want these guys to, all of them to start. So let me know what you guys think. Let's now move on to Game Week 38 captaincy. So this is my shortlist for Game Week 38 captaincy. Shout out to Thinking Cap, by the way, my boy Benji, who did send the slide. He does a captaincy video every week. Do check him out on YouTube. Shout out to him for this beautiful graphic. He does have these 4 shortlists. I personally would not have Isak as one of my captaincy this week, considering there's so much doubts around him, the injuries and whatnot, whether he will start or not. So I probably wouldn't have Isak on my shortlist, but I do agree with the other 3, which is Saka, Salah, and Bowen. I think they will be quite highly owned and as well as captain this week. I personally prefer Saka ahead of both Salah and Bowen. But I do think Salah and Saka is quite close. They're quite really close, especially when you look at the numbers as well. The non-penalty XG versus Salah and Saka, what? Only 0.2 difference. Southampton has conceded by far like the most XGC as well as the goals. Like, come on, like when you're looking at those numbers, like they've considered 85 XGC and they've considered 84 goals. I mean, goodness. Whereas Palace, they've only considered what, 48 XGC and only 50 goals. It's not that much at all. So on paper, if we're going based on these numbers, it should be Saka as the best captain. If we're being frank and if he starts, right? However, there is a narrative that Salah is playing for his assist record as well as the goal record, and his ceiling is 2 to 3 returns. So it's a tough one this week. I'll be completely honest. For me, I'm currently on Saka, as you guys saw in the previous slide, and the reason being is Southampton and the right wing spot, which I think we should all target. And I'll get into the next slides where you will see like how much they have considered from the right wing spot from throughout the whole season. So yeah, as I was to rank it right now, Saka 1, Salah 2, Bowen 3. Look, pick your poison between Salah and Saka is 50-50. I think if you were to play defensive and protect your rank, is most likely Salah. And if you were to be more aggressive and attack, I think it's probably Saka/Bowen. So yeah, let's now move on to Game Week 38 best buys. So for Game Week 38 best buys, I've got first goalkeepers. I've got Kepa, Raya, Areola, and Alisson. I think they're probably the top 4 goalkeepers if I was to buy this week. And then you've got defenders, Kirkes, White, Guardiola, Livramento. I think they all have really good fixtures on paper and they could do well. And then you've got Saka, Bowen, Mitoma, Trossard, Rodgers, and Diaz as midfielders. I'll also throw in maybe a cheeky Neri if Saka's bench. Neri could also be an option. I know it's not on the list, but if we get the news that Saka is bench, most likely Neri is going to start and he could really do well. As I said, that right wing spot for Southampton, they do consider a lot of chances from there. And the striker position, obviously number 1, you got Evan Olsen versus Leicester, Wissa versus a drunk Spurs team who just won the Europa League, so he could definitely shine in that team. And then you've got Marmoush, Watkins, and Havertz. That's the way I would rank them, the way it is on the slide currently. One thing to note is that historically speaking, Game Week 38 is the highest scoring game week, where last season I think there was like 37 goals scored. So expect a lot of goals from these teams. Historically speaking, that's what tends to happen. And if you have transfers, I think it is wise to spend on the attackers rather than defenders. As long as you got playing defenders playing this week, I think prioritize bringing in these attackers, the likes of Evan Olsen, Welbeck, Saka, Bowen. I think they're really, really huge ceiling compared to a defender. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let's now move on to FPL Meerkat's positional goals conceding threads in the next slide. As you guys can see, shout out to FPL Meerkat. He's done an exceptional job this season posting the goals considered charts as well as this thread that he just posted today. Make sure to go check him out on X as well as on YouTube. As you guys can see, for Leicester, first and foremost, they've considered 26 goals, 2 strikers, and Evan Olsen is next up. And that is why, guys, he's my transfer in this week. As you guys can see, 26 goals they've considered this season. That's a lot of goals. I'll be extremely shocked if Evan Olsen comes without a goal or an assist this game week. Honestly, I would be. And then you got next up a striker versus Ipswich. They've considered 23 goals. And next up is the likes of Fulkrug, Bowen, and Kudus. Personally, I would not pick up Fulkrug or Kudus. I'll personally target Bowen. Sometimes he plays 9, sometimes he plays on the right wing. He could definitely, do well versus Ipswich. And then you got striker versus West Ham. They've considered 20 goals. And next up is Delap. But one thing to note, that was not under Potter. Potter is much more defensive, so those numbers might be a bit skewed. And then you go Wolves. They've considered 20 goals to strikers, and next up is Wissa. As I said, he's on hot form. He could definitely smash Wolves, and that's one of the players that I'm scared about this week. And if you're playing defensive, I'd probably think he's a buy ahead of Evan Olsen to protect your rank. And then you go right wing versus Ipswich. As I mentioned already, Bowen, he could do really well versus Ipswich, and if he plays a striker or right wing, regardless, I think he could do well. Right wing versus Southampton, that's something that I've mentioned a lot as well. Saka / Will Nuri. I mean, goodness, if Saka starts, I think he's my captain, as I said. And they've considered 19 goals to right wing this season. It's insane. They're really, really weak in that position. And then you got striker versus Palace, 17 goals. Luis Diaz / Jota. Jota is not really a buy, but Diaz, if you're thinking for a spicy differential, maybe, but I'm not too keen there. And then you got striker versus Southampton, 17 goals. Havertz is also, could do really well. Or Trossard, whoever starts, could do really well. Striker versus Tottenham, 17 goals. Tottenham has been scoring, conceding goals from every single position. Strikers, wing backs, everything, right? So Welbeck is definitely a buy. The likes of Estupinian, the likes of Mitoma, they could all do well versus Spurs, considering the fact that they're drunk and they're on a parade right now. And then go striker versus Brentford, 17 goals. Next up, Sean Larson. I think there's some doubts around him. I just saw on the X that he may not start. He's a doubt. So again, if you have Cunha, hopefully if he starts, he could do well. I mean, I personally own him, but I don't know if he will start. I mean, look, this does correlate with the section, previous section, which obviously says the players that you should buy. Look, this will just further justify the players I've mentioned, the likes of Saka, Bowen, Evan Olsen, and Wissa. These numbers do back up those statements. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know which assets you're bringing in for this week. Look, it's been an exceptional season for me. I really appreciate all the love you guys have been showing me, on my Roundtable podcast. I mean, just to keep in mind, by the way, guys, we'll be doing a watch along for Game Week 38. Make sure to tune in. I may not be there, but obviously my friends will be there, the likes of Kanji and Stark. So make sure to go show love to them and the love you've been showing the whole season. I really appreciate it. Even on my channel, I think I'm around 50 subs off 1K. So make sure to, you get your boy to 1K subscribers before the end of the season. And just want to say finally, thank you so much for all the love. Make sure to smash the like button. Make sure to share this video. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below. And all the best of luck to you for Game Week 38. And we'll see you next week for Game Week 38 overall season review. And peace out.